had the same idea for a speech. I also think of Forrest Gump when I think of Danny and Katie, except I think about how Forrest and Danny are about as smart as each other. Sorry about that, Art. Before I start talking about my brother, I did want to say something about Katie real quick, because she has been part of our family for a long time. Katie, I don't know if you know this story, but before we met you for the first time, my wife Allie and I were both very curious what you would be like. There were not too many girls that Danny brought around the family, and someone who could put up with Danny has to be one kind of a special person. So there was definitely some questions asked, some gossip thrown around, some Facebook stalking on my part. But I have to say, after we had lunch with you that day, Allie and I both got in the car on the way to go home. It was just her and I in the car together. And we turned to each other, and the first thing that we said was, "She is great." And we absolutely fell in love with you from the first day that we knew you. And I am so excited today that I get to officially call you my sister.
Yeah, Sissy!
Daniel, you gigantic moron! I don't know how many people know, not only is today Daniel and Katie's wedding day, but it is also Earth Day. And I knew from the moment that they got engaged that they would get married on Earth Day. Not because they're very environmentally conscious, because they love recycling so much, but because what better day than Earth Day for a beautiful girl like Katie to get married to someone who looks like a tree.
Yeah, Daddy!
So I have to be honest, when Danny and I were growing up, I never thought that he would get to marry a girl like Katie. And not because he's ugly, or neurotic, or sloppy, not because he's a workaholic. Thank you. So handy, I appreciate it. Not because he's a workaholic, or because he has to special order shoes for his gigantic feet.
Karen.
I never thought he would marry a girl like Katie, because I always assumed he would marry a guy like Brian Donowitz.
Yeah, Brian!
Brian, can you stand up for a second real quick? Brian Donowitz is a beautiful man. You could do a lot worse than Brian Donowitz. For those who have gotten to spend time with Danny and I, you probably noticed that we're a lot alike, but we're also very different. I like to say when we were growing up that we grew up in the same house, but in two very different worlds. I'll give you an example. Growing up, Daniel always looked at our dad, Jay, with admiration and as a role model. Yeah. I always assumed that I was living with a disco dancing Jewish grizzly bear. I don't care, that's funny. But it should be no surprise through Daniel's admiration of our father that they have followed similar paths to success. They were both all-star baseball players in high school. Clap for that a little bit. They both graduated from Indiana University. And they both became CPAs, which you don't have to clap for, and I don't expect you to because it's pretty damn boring. The one thing that has really separated my brother from my dad is that my brother grew up to look like Frankenstein. Which I've been meaning to ask you, Daniel. With the bolts in your neck, was it harder to get your head up Dad's ass? Or was it still easy enough? I've just been curious.
Not funny, Mike.
I don't care who you are, that's funny too. All right, so now I'm gonna get to the serious part of the speech. Since my brother graduated college and moved to Chicago, he and I have become more than brothers. We have become extremely good friends, and we love each other very much, and I'm so happy that we get to live a couple blocks away from each other and share so much together. On a personal note for me, Daniel knows this, but when we opened or were trying to open Oriole, Daniel was the first one who raised his hand and volunteered to invest in the project. And it's not because he has a gigantic passion for restaurants or because he loves food, it's because he has confidence in me. And I just want to promise you tonight that I will never take that confidence for granted and that I appreciate it more than you can possibly know. So thank you very much for that. What a lot of you heard at the rehearsal dinner last night, and some of you might have not have heard tonight, is that every Friday, as long as Danny and Katie are in town, they come over to our house to spend time with Allie, my wife, myself, and most importantly, my daughter Taylor, Danny and Katie's niece. When Danny and Katie walk in the room, it doesn't matter if Cinderella walked in front of them. Taylor would run up to both of them, be so excited to see them, give them hugs and kisses, and her face would light up like the sun. That relationship that you have with Taylor is not only important to her, but it is just as much, if not more important to me. And I hope that no matter where you live, whether it's 2 blocks away, 2 miles away, 2 states away, or 2 countries away, that you guys can continue to come over every Friday, drink my beer, and hang out with Taylor. So thank you for that relationship. So I know you've been asked to do this a lot tonight, but if we can raise a glass real quick to my brother and Katie. Katie, you are now like the sister that I never had. And it sounds like a cliche, but you're like the sister I never had. And Daniel, it sounds weird to say, but you're like the sister I've always had. I love you both very much. This is an amazing day. I'm so happy for both of you. I hope you have the best time. Congratulations, health and happiness.
Woohoo!